Hello, everyone, and a very warm welcome back to English in Advance. I'm Jessica, and it's wonderful to have you here with me today. If this is your first time joining our community, let me just say how happy I am that you're here. Our goal on this channel is to share new English learning masterclasses every single day, lessons that are designed not just to teach you, but to truly help you improve your English in a way that feels faster, more intuitive, and much more natural. In today's very special, extended masterclass, you are going to take a significant, powerful step toward speaking English just like a native speaker. We're not just going to skim the surface. Instead, we will dive deep into the advanced fluency skills that will empower you to sound incredibly confident, completely natural, and wonderfully expressive. Through our time together today, you will do more than just sharpen your listening skills. You will fundamentally strengthen your speaking rhythm, refine your word choice, and discover your own natural, authentic tone in English. Throughout this immersive session, I will be your personal guide, leading you through authentic, real-life speaking examples, sharing advanced pronunciation tips that make all the difference, and engaging you in detailed shadowing exercises. You will have plenty of opportunities to repeat with me, to feel the words and the rhythm in your own mouth. You'll hear in detail how native speakers construct their sentences, how they effortlessly link their words together to create a smooth flow, and how they add those subtle, nuanced expressions that make their speech sound so completely effortless and genuine. By the end of our lesson today, I promise you will have the tools, the hands-on practice, and the newfound confidence you need to elevate your English from simply being good to being truly fluent and deeply natural. Before we begin this journey, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and tap that little bell icon. That way, you won't miss any of our future lessons, each one carefully designed to bring you one step closer to achieving that native-level English you're striving for. So, find a comfortable spot, take a nice deep breath, allow yourself to relax, and let's dive into this wonderful experience together. Speaking English like a native speaker, you know it's a goal for so many learners, but it's often misunderstood. It's really not about using the most complicated $10 vocabulary words you can find, nor is it about memorizing hundreds of obscure grammar rules until your head spins. The true art of it, the real secret, is about creating a natural melodic flow in your speech. It's about intuitively choosing the right expressions for the right moment. And most importantly, it's about letting your words connect seamlessly and effortlessly with your thoughts. And that beautiful, fluid connection is exactly what we are going to work on, you and I together today. I want you to imagine for a moment that we are sitting together in a cozy cafe, just two friends having a relaxed conversation over a cup of coffee. I'll speak slowly at times to make things crystal clear, and then I'll shift to a more natural conversational pace so you can truly hear the difference. And at every single step of the way, I will give you a clear and unhurried chance to repeat after me. This is the magic of shadowing. It's how your brain begins to absorb the patterns and starts to actually think in English, without that frustrating, slow process of constantly stopping to translate in your head. Let's begin our journey with one of the most fundamental and often overlooked parts of native-sounding English, which is its unique rhythm and intonation. When you truly listen to native speakers, I mean, really listen. You might start to notice that their speech isn't flat. It rises and falls gracefully, almost like music. They don't pronounce every single word with the exact same strength or emphasis. Some words are stressed, they stand out, while others are softer, almost gliding by. Let's try a little experiment together with a simple sentence. The sentence is, I didn't say you stole the money. Now, listen very carefully to how the entire meaning of that sentence dramatically changes just by where I place the stress. First, let's stress the word I. Listen, I didn't say you stole the money. Do you hear that? The emphasis on I implies that maybe someone else said it, but not me. It's a sentence of self-defense. Now your turn. Try to say it just like that, putting the little punch on the first word. I didn't say you stole the money. Okay, wonderful. Now let's move the stress to the word say. I didn't say you stole the money. This time, the meaning shifts completely. It suggests that maybe I implied it, or I wrote it down, or I thought it, but I didn't actually speak the words. It's a very subtle distinction. Your turn to try. Feel that stress on the verb. I didn't say you stole the money. Let's try one more. Let's stress the word you. I didn't say you stole the money. Now the accusation is pointed elsewhere. I'm saying someone stole the money, for sure, but it wasn't you. It was someone else. Can you feel the shift in focus? Go ahead and repeat after me. Give it a try. I didn't say you stole the money. Each time the focus shifts, the entire story behind the sentence changes. Your turn again. Repeat each version after me slowly and really feel the way your voice changes, the way the muscles in your mouth work to emphasize that one single word. I didn't say you stole the money. I didn't say you stole the money. I didn't say you stole the money. It's incredible, isn't it? This is the music of English and you're learning to play it. Now, let's take this concept and put it into a very common daily life example. Imagine you're talking to a colleague, Liam, about a meeting you were supposed to have. A textbook learner might say the sentence very flatly like this. I thought the meeting was at 3. Every word gets equal importance. But a native speaker, they might make it sound more like this. I thought the meeting was at 3. Do you hear the little rise and fall on the word thought? It implies a hint of confusion or surprise. Maybe the meeting time was changed. Do you also hear that soft, smooth connection between meeting and was? It's not meeting, was. It's more like meeting was. Try it with me now. First, let's say it very slowly, breaking it down. I thought the meeting was at 3. Now, let's try it more naturally with that beautiful flowing rhythm. I thought the meeting was at 3. Excellent. You're already starting to sound more natural. A huge part of sounding like a native speaker is this art of linking words together, so your speech flows like a gentle river rather than a series of disconnected stones. In English, when one word ends with a consonant sound and the very next word begins with a vowel sound, native speakers almost instinctively connect them. It's not a rule we learn in a book. It's something that just happens to make speaking smoother and faster. For example, the two separate words turn off. They become turn off. The phrase pick it up becomes pick it up. It's like the last letter of the first word jumps over to start the next word. Let's try saying these linked phrases naturally. First, turn off the lights. Notice how turn and off blend. Now you try. Turn off the lights. Great. Now, let's try. Pick it up from the table. Feel how pick, it, and up all connect into one smooth sound. Pick it up. Your turn. Pick it up from the table. Now I want you to repeat them both one more time, but this time I want you to truly imagine you're talking to a close friend or a family member. Relax your jaw, relax your mouth, and just let the sounds blend together effortlessly. Don't force it. Let it flow. Turn off the lights. Pick it up from the table. Let's practice this linking skill inside a little dialogue to make it feel more real. I'll play both parts first so you can just listen, and then we'll break it down for you to repeat. Imagine one friend, Chloe, is asking another, Ben, for a favor. Chloe says, "Ben, can you pick it up after work?" Now it's your turn to say Chloe's line. Really link pick it up. Ben, can you pick it up after work? Perfect. Now, I'll be Ben again, and I'll reply, "Sure. I'll turn off the lights before I leave." Now you repeat Ben's line. Feel the link in turn off. "Sure. I'll turn off the lights before I leave." This kind of back and forth practice is so incredibly valuable because it gets you used to the real speed and rhythm of a natural conversation. Another key element that adds a huge amount of naturalness to your speech is using fillers, but using them naturally. I know some teachers say to avoid fillers, but the truth is, native speakers use them all the time. They are the little words or sounds we use to bridge our thoughts, to keep the conversation flowing while our brain is catching up. Words like, well, you know, actually, these can make you sound much more relaxed and less like you're reading from a script. Let's practice using a few. Let's try saying this sentence. Well, I think we should wait a little longer. Hey, that well at the beginning softens the statement and gives you a moment to think. Your turn. Well, I think we should wait a little longer. Now let's try another one with you know. This is often used to check if the other person is following you or to share a common understanding. You know, it might be better to start tomorrow. Go ahead. You know, it might be better to start tomorrow. And one more with actually, which is often used to introduce a surprising or contrasting piece of information. Actually, I've changed my mind. Your turn. Actually, I've changed my mind. Try saying all three of them with me now. We'll start slowly, and then we'll pick up the pace to a more natural speed. Ready? Well, I think we should wait a little longer. You know, it might be better to start tomorrow. Actually, I've changed my mind. Fantastic. Now, I want to give you a small but powerful shadowing exercise. I'm going to speak a short, very normal, everyday paragraph, and your job is to repeat it right after me. The goal is to match my tone, my speed, and my rhythm as exactly as you possibly can. Don't just say the words. Try to feel the emotion and the flow behind them. Ready? Here we go. Well, I was thinking we could grab a coffee before the meeting, just to relax a bit. Actually, there's a nice cafe right around the corner. Now, it's your turn. Take your time. You can even pause and rewind if you need to. The goal is to get it as close as possible. Go ahead. Well, I was thinking we could grab a coffee before the meeting. Just to relax a bit. Actually, there's a nice cafe right around the corner. This kind of focused practice is so powerful because it teaches your brain not just the individual words, but the music of English. It's about the melody, Not just the lyrics. Let's move into an area that can be a real challenge for many learners. Pronunciation. Specifically, let's talk about that tricky T sound. It appears in so many common English words, like think or this. The secret to making this sound correctly is all about your tongue. Your tongue needs to come gently between your top and bottom teeth. For a word like think, it's a soft, unvoiced sound. Just air passes through. For a word like this, it's a voice sound, meaning you should feel a little vibration in your throat. Let's try just the sounds first. Place your tongue lightly between your teeth and blow tiki, like in think. Now, do the same thing, but add your voice, tha, like in this. Let's alternate. Think this. Think this. Your turn. Think this. Think this. Now, let's put those sounds into full sentences. I think this is a good idea. Notice both sounds are in that one sentence. Think is soft. This is voiced. Let's try another one. This is what I think about the plan. Say them with me now, very slowly at first. Focus on the feeling of your tongue. I think this is good idea. Now, a bit more naturally. I think this is a good idea. And the second one, slowly. This is what I think about the plan. And now, naturally. This is what I think about the plan. In native conversation, pronunciation isn't just about making the sounds perfectly. It's also about reductions. This is something that can make native speech very hard to understand at first. But once you learn to recognize and use them, your own speech will sound much more authentic. Reductions are when we shorten or combine words in casual speech. For example, going to almost always becomes gonna. Want to becomes wanna. Let's try these common reductions. I'm going to call you later. Sat, your turn. I'm going to call you later. Now the other one. Do you want to go for lunch? Your turn. Do you want to go for lunch? You don't have to use reductions all the time, especially in formal situations. But learning to recognize them will dramatically improve your listening comprehension, and using them in casual conversation will help you sound much more natural and relaxed. Now, let's picture a common situation to see how all these elements come together. Imagine you meet a friend on the street. Here's how a textbook English learner, someone who has learned primarily from books, might handle the conversation. Hello, how are you? I'm fine, thank you. And you? It's grammatically perfect, but it sounds very stiff and formal. Now, here's how that same interaction might sound between two native speakers. Hey, how's it going? Pretty good. How about you? Huh. Notice the differences. It's shorter, it's warmer, the questions are more casual, and the tone is much more friendly and relaxed. Let's practice the native version. I'll say the first part, and then you say it. Hey, how's it going? Now, I'll say the reply, and you repeat after me. Pretty good. How about you? I really want you to feel that in English. The tone of your voice can be just as important, if not more important, than the words themselves. The exact same sentence can sound friendly, bored, excited, or annoyed, all depending on how you say it. Let's play with this a little. The phrase is, "That's great." First, I want you to say it with genuine excitement. Imagine your friend just told you they got a promotion. Go. That's great. Now, say the exact same words, but this time with complete boredom. Imagine you're stuck in a long, uninteresting meeting. That's great. And finally, Let's try it with sarcasm. Imagine someone tells you they broke your favorite mug and they say, "Don't worry, it was old anyway." That's great. Do you see how much the tone completely changes the meaning? This is how native speakers communicate a huge amount of emotion without ever changing the words. We'll also practice the art of pausing naturally. This is so important. Native speakers don't just rush through their sentences without taking a breath. They pause in natural places, often before an important piece of information or at the end of a thought. These pauses give the listener time to process and make the speaker sound more thoughtful and confident. For example, listen to this short story. When I got home, I saw the lights were still on. So, I went inside and found my phone on the table. The pauses are like commas in spoken language. Try saying that story with me. Don't rush. Let the pauses help your listener follow along. When I got home, I saw the lights were still on. So, I went inside and found my phone on the table. One thing that native speakers do completely automatically without even thinking about it is adjusting their speech depending on who they're talking to. This is a concept called register. Simply put, the way you talk to your boss is not the same as how you talk to your best friend. Your language changes. Let's look at a simple, clear example. Imagine you need to discuss a report. In a formal setting with your boss, Mr. Harris, you might say, "Good morning, Mr. Harris. I wanted to discuss the report you sent yesterday. It's polite, it's respectful, it's professional." Now, imagine you're talking about the exact same report, but with your close friend and colleague, Sarah. In that informal setting, you might just say, "Hey, did you get a chance to look over that report?" See? The purpose is exactly the same, to talk about the report, but the style, the vocabulary, and the tone are completely different. Now it's your turn to practice this switching of registers. First, I want you to say the formal sentence slowly, as if you were really speaking to your boss. Feel the professional tone. "Good morning, Mr. Harris. I wanted to discuss the report you sent yesterday." Great. Now, let's switch. Say the informal version more casually. Let your tone relax, as if you're talking to a friend you've known for years. "Hey, did you get a chance to look over that report?" Being able to make this kind of switch is a massive part of sounding truly natural and socially aware in English. Here's another daily life example to illustrate this point. Imagine you are at a nice sit-down restaurant. You want to sound polite but also friendly when you order. You could say something like this. "Could I please have the grilled chicken with a side salad?" The phrase, "could I please have," is a soft and polite way to make a request. Now let's change the scene. Imagine you're in a very casual situation, maybe with a friend at a busy outdoor food truck. You would probably sound a bit different. You might say, "Yeah, I'll grab the chicken and a salad on the side." Notice how "I'll grab" is quicker, more direct, and much lighter. One is softer and more formal, while the other is faster and more casual. Try saying both with me. First, the polite restaurant version. "Could I please have the grilled chicken with a side salad?" Now, the casual food truck version. "Yeah, I'll grab the chicken and a salad on the side." Now, let's talk about something we all have to do. Starting conversations. Native speakers often begin conversations with light, simple phrases that feel very easy to answer. They're like little invitations to talk. Instead of just a simple "hi," They might use a variety of openers. For example, "Hey, what's up?" Or, "How's your day going so far?" Or, on a particularly busy day at the office, a simple, "Busy morning." Let's practice these. First, I'll say them slowly so you can get the pronunciation and then you can repeat. After that, we'll try them at a more natural, conversational speed. When you practice these, I want you to focus on more than just the words. Try to feel the energy behind them. "Hey, what's up?" should sound friendly and genuinely curious. "Busy morning" should sound light, relatable, and conversational. The mood you project is just as important as the words you choose. Now, let's work on a slightly longer shadowing dialogue to put this all together. I'll speak as two people in a casual coffee shop setting. First, just listen. Person A: "Hey, what's up? Haven't seen you in ages." Person B: "Yeah, it's been forever. I've been swamped with work." Person A: "Tell me about it. I feel like I live at the office these days." Now it's your turn. We'll go line by line. Repeat both parts with me. Really try to copy my rhythm, the natural pauses, and the way the words link together. This is how conversations really sound. Speaking like a native also means using contractions naturally and consistently. Native speakers almost always use contractions in everyday spoken English. Instead of saying the full "I am going," they say "I'm going." Instead of "they are not ready," they say "they aren't ready," or "they're not ready." It makes the speech smoother and faster. Let's practice some of the most common ones. Repeat after me. "I'm going to the store." "They aren't ready yet." "She's been working all day." Say them slowly first to get the feel, and then let's say them again at a more natural speed. Using contractions is one of the quickest and easiest ways to make your English sound instantly more authentic. Here's a little practice game to help you master this. I'll give you the formal textbook version of a sentence, and your job is to immediately say it back in the contracted natural version. Ready? I say, "I am not feeling well today." You say, "I'm not feeling well today." I say, "They have been working hard." You say, "They've been working hard." I say, "We are going to see a movie tonight." You say, "We're going to see a movie tonight." This simple switch, making contractions a habit, will make your English sound so much smoother and more like a native speaker. Let's now focus on something really important for conversation: reaction words. In real life, conversations are a two-way street. Native speakers constantly react to what others are saying with quick, short responses. Words like, "Really? Exactly. Right? No way. Sure. I know. Uh-huh." These little words are the glue of a conversation. They keep it alive, and most importantly, they show the other person that you are actively listening and engaged. Let's practice this. I'll say a sentence, and I want you to react with one of those natural reaction words. I say, "I just got back from Italy." You could say, "Really?" or "No way." I say, "The traffic was awful this morning." You could say, "I know," or "Tell me about it." I say, "The food there is amazing." You could say, "Exactly," or "Right." These are the little building blocks of a dynamic, native-level conversation. They show you're not just waiting for your turn to speak, but you're truly part of the dialogue. Now, let's bring many of these elements together in a fun storytelling exercise. I'll tell you a short story about my day. Your task is to repeat it after me, sentence by sentence, focusing on everything we've talked about. The rhythm, the linking of words, the contractions, and the natural tone. Ready? Here's the story. Yesterday, I woke up a little earlier than usual. I made myself a cup of coffee and went for a walk in the park. The air was so fresh and the streets were really quiet. I actually ran into an old friend and we ended up talking for almost an hour. Now it's your turn. Take it one piece at a time. Try to match my voice, my pace, and my natural pauses. Storytelling is one of the absolute best ways to improve your fluency because it forces you to connect sentences together and keep your thoughts flowing in English. The more you practice telling short, simple stories about your day, the more comfortable and confident you'll feel when you're in real conversations. Before we move on to the next part of our masterclass, here's a quick daily fluency drill I want you to try on your own. Take any small moment from your day. It could be what you had for breakfast this morning, the journey you took to work or school, or something funny you saw on the street. And I want you to try to describe it out loud in English for 1 full minute. The rule is, you cannot stop. Don't go back to correct yourself. Don't stop to translate a word in your head. Just keep going. Even if you have to use very simple words, the goal is continuous flow. This exercise is like taking your brain to the gym. It's how you build the muscle for thinking directly in English. Another incredibly powerful skill that will make you sound much more like a native English speaker is paraphrasing. This simply means saying the same idea but using different words. Native speakers do this constantly and for many reasons. Sometimes to clarify a point, sometimes to avoid repeating the same words over and over, and often just to keep the conversation fresh and interesting. Let's try a very simple example. You might say, "It's very cold outside." That's perfectly correct, but you could also paraphrase it. You could say, "It's freezing out there." Or maybe, "It's a bit chilly today." Or even, "The weather's really cold right now." All of these sentences mean essentially the same thing, but each one has a slightly different flavor and tone. Freezing is much stronger than chilly. Here's a common daily life situation. Imagine someone asks you, "How was the movie?" You could just say, "It was good." But that's very short and doesn't give the other person much to respond to. It can sometimes even end the conversation. Instead, you could paraphrase your positive feeling in a more descriptive way. You could say, "It was really funny. I laughed the whole time." Or you could say, "The story was great and the acting was amazing." Now it's your turn to practice. Take a simple sentence like, "I liked the book," and try to expand it into 2 or 3 natural variations that express the same idea but with more detail. This is exactly what will make your conversations richer, more descriptive, and much more engaging for the person you're talking to. Let's do a little focused paraphrasing exercise together. I'll give you a basic sentence, and I want you to repeat it back to me, but in a different way. I say, "I'm tired." You might say, "I'm exhausted." Or, "I could really use some rest." I say, "She's smart." You might say, "She's really clever." Or, "She's so quick to understand things." I say, "It's hot today." You might say, "It's boiling outside." Or, "The weather's really warm today, isn't it?" The more ways you have to express a single thought, the more flexible and natural your English will sound. You'll never feel stuck for words. Another important element of native-sounding speech is the intonation you use when asking questions. In English, the melody of our voice changes depending on the type of question we're asking. for yes or no questions, questions that can be answered with a simple yes or no. Our voice usually rises at the very end. For example, are you coming? Do you like it? Can you hear my voice go up? But for information questions, those are the ones that start with words like who, what, when, where, why, or how. The tone often falls at the end. For example, where are you going? What time is it? Hear how my voice goes down? Let's try this together. First, let's practice some yes or no questions with a rising tone at the end. Repeat after me. Is this your book? Have you eaten lunch? Now let's practice some information questions with a falling tone at the end. Repeat after me. What did you do last weekend? How do you get to work? Really feel the difference in the music of your voice. Let's practice this in a short conversational exchange. I'll be person A and you'll be person B. Person A, do you live nearby? Rising tone. You answer, yes, just a few minutes away. Person A, where do you usually go shopping? Falling tone. You answer, I usually go to the market down the street. This kind of practice will help train both your ear to hear these patterns and your voice to produce them naturally. Now, let's talk about natural connectors. These are the words and phrases that act like bridges, linking your ideas together smoothly. Words like so, because, anyway, by the way, actually, you know what? In fact, without these connectors, your sentences can sound very disconnected and choppy, like a list. Let's try using some. Repeat after me. I didn't go out because it was raining. I was tired, so I went to bed early. By the way, have you seen my phone? Repeat each one with me slowly first, and then we'll say them again at a more natural speed. These little words make a huge difference in the flow of your speech. Native speakers also very often use what we can call softeners to make their speech sound more polite and less demanding. Instead of saying something very direct like, give me the book, which can sound rude, they might say, could you give me the book? Or even more softly, would you mind passing me the book? These phrases soften the request and show respect for the other person. Let's practice a couple of these. Repeat after me. Could you open the window, please? Would you mind turning down the volume? Notice how these sentences sound so much warmer and more respectful than just giving a direct command. Let's do a quick shadowing dialogue specifically for practicing these polite requests. Person A, would you mind helping me carry this box? Person B, sure, no problem at all. Person A, could you possibly send me that file later? Person B, of course, I'll do it right after lunch. Now, your turn. Repeat both roles with me, focusing on that soft, polite tone. One advanced fluency habit that you can begin to master is something called story framing. This means preparing your listener for what you're about to say. Native speakers often start with a little introduction before they tell the main story. For example, you won't believe what happened to me yesterday, or something really funny happened at work today. These little opening phrases act like a hook. They make the listener curious and want to hear more. Let's practice saying some of these story frames. Repeat after me with an engaged, curious tone. You're not going to believe this. Here's your daily storytelling challenge to practice this skill. I'll give you a starting sentence, a story frame, and I want you to try to finish it in your own words. Just say the first thing that comes to mind. This morning, I was on my way to work when... I went to the supermarket and guess what? Yesterday I met someone who... Practice finishing these sentences with different details each time. This will make your spoken English much more dynamic, creative, and engaging. Finally, for this section, I want to focus on a concept I call shadowing for speed control. Many learners mistakenly believe that speaking faster means speaking better or more fluently. But speed without clarity is not fluency. In fact, it can be very difficult to understand. Native speakers don't speak at one constant fast speed. They often vary their speed. They might slow down to emphasize something really important, and then speed up a bit for background details or less important information. Let's practice this. I'll say a sentence, and I want you to notice how I control the speed. The thing is... slows down. I wasn't ready for the meeting, so I just smiled and hoped for the best. Speeds up a bit. First, repeat it slowly with me, feeling that change in pace. Then repeat it again at a more natural pace. Notice how controlling your speed actually makes the meaning clearer and the story more interesting. You are in control. Another thing that truly separates native speakers from learners is the way they use emphasis to highlight the most important words in a sentence. This isn't just about speaking louder, it's more nuanced than that. It can be about stretching the word slightly, giving it more weight in the sentence, or letting your tone rise or fall on that specific word. Let's take a simple example. I really like this coffee. If I want to emphasize how much I like it, I'll stress really. Listen, I really like this coffee. Now, let's compare that with stressing the word this. I really like this coffee. In this case, the focus is on this specific cup of coffee, maybe compared to another one I had earlier. The message feels completely different, doesn't it? Practice changing which word you emphasize in that sentence and notice how it subtly changes the entire meaning. Let's put this idea of emphasis into a daily conversation example. Imagine someone asks you, "Do you like living in the city?" If you want to show very strong agreement and enthusiasm, you might say, "I absolutely love it." You would stress the word absolutely. If you want to be a bit softer or more neutral, you could simply say, "Yeah, I like it." Now, you try saying both versions. First, the strong, enthusiastic one, and now the softer, more neutral one. Listen to the difference in the feeling you are communicating. Another skill to develop is speaking with natural pauses, especially when you need a moment to think. Many learners, when they're searching for a word, use filler sounds like and While these are normal, overusing them can make you sound hesitant. Native speakers often just pause silently for a moment. This makes them sound more thoughtful and confident. For example, well, pause. I think we could go to the park later. Or maybe, pause. Try that new cafe. The pause gives you time to think, and it also helps your listener process what you're saying. Let's try it. Say this sentence and intentionally place a short, silent pause where I do. So I was thinking, pause, maybe we could start a little earlier tomorrow. Practice pausing just before you say the most important part of your sentence. Now, let's move into something that adds so much color and personality to English, idiomatic expressions. Native speakers use these all the time to make their speech more descriptive and relatable. For example, "It's raining cats and dogs" just means it's raining very heavily. To break the ice means to do or say something to make people feel more comfortable in a social situation. And to hit the nail on the head means to describe something perfectly or exactly right. Let's try saying each one of these with me. It's raining cats and dogs. Let's break the ice. You hit the nail on the head. Now, try to make your own short, simple sentence using each one. For instance, it was raining cats and dogs when I left the office. He told a joke to break the ice at the meeting. You really hit the nail on the head with that comment. Let's practice these idioms in a mini dialogue to hear how they sound in a real conversation. Person A. I was so nervous at the party, but then someone told a funny story and it really broke the ice. Person B. Yeah, I know what you mean. I was feeling a bit nervous too. Person A. And when you said we should try the new Italian restaurant, you really hit the nail on the head. The food was amazing. Now your turn. Repeat both parts with me, trying to make the idioms sound like a natural part of your speech. Now let's focus on transition phrases for storytelling. When native speakers tell a story, they use little signposts to guide their listener through the events. Phrases like, first of all, the next thing I knew, before I knew it, in the end. These help the story flow logically. Let's try using them. Repeat after me. First of all, I missed my bus. The next thing I knew, I was running down the street. Before I knew it, it was already lunchtime. In the end, everything worked out just fine. Repeat them slowly first, then try them again at a more natural storytelling speed. Here's a practice exercise for you. I'll start a story using these transition words, and you can try to finish it in your own way. First of all, I woke up late this morning. The next thing I knew, my phone was ringing off the hook. Before I knew it, I was rushing out the door without my wallet. In the end, ... Try to add your own details to make the story more personal and complete. Another subtle but important way to sound like a native speaker is by using small talk naturally. In many cultures, people jump straight into the main topic of conversation. But in many English-speaking countries, small talk is a very common and important way to create a friendly and comfortable atmosphere before discussing more serious matters. Simple topics like the weather, recent sports games, or general questions about someone's day are very common. For example, how's your day been so far? Did you catch the game last night? The weather's been so nice lately, hasn't it? Try starting your next conversation with one of these light openers before moving into your main point. Let's do a quick role play. I'll be person A and you be person B. Person A. Hey, how's your day going so far? You answer, not bad, just a bit busy. How about you? Person A. Yeah, same here. Have you had a chance to grab lunch yet? You answer, not yet, I might grab something soon. These little light exchanges make the entire conversation flow much more naturally and feel less abrupt. Now, let's work on a mental habit, reducing overthinking when you speak. So many learners pause for too long because they are desperately trying to find the perfect, most impressive word. But native speakers often just use simpler words in the moment to keep the conversation moving. Flow is often more important than perfection. For example, if you can't remember the word magnificent, you can just say really great and keep talking. The conversation doesn't stop. Let's practice this. I'll give you a more difficult word and I want you to replace it with a simpler, more common one. I say, he's very punctual. You could say, He's always on time. I say, the presentation was exceptional. You could say, the presentation was really, really good. This skill helps you keep your speech natural and fluid, even when you can't find the exact word you're looking for. Here's your fluency challenge for today. I want you to talk for 1 full minute about your favorite food without stopping. Use simple words. If you forget the exact name of an ingredient, just describe it. The goal is continuous flow, not perfect vocabulary. This is a fantastic exercise for building fluency. Another important habit that makes your English sound native-like is using context to choose the right phrases. Many learners try to memorize long lists of expressions, but the real skill is in knowing when and where to use them. For example, the phrase, "How have you been?" works perfectly when you meet someone you haven't seen in a while, maybe a few months or years. But if you use that phrase with a colleague you see every single day, it would sound a bit strange. For that colleague, something like, "How's your morning going?" feels much more natural. Let's try a short practice. I'll give you a situation and you say the phrase that fits best. Situation 1. You haven't seen a good friend for 3 months. You see them in a cafe. You say, "Hey, how have you been?" Situation 2. You meet a coworker in the hallway on your way to get coffee. You say, "Hey, how's your morning going?" Situation 3. You meet your neighbor while you're both walking outside on a very rainy day. You say, "Wow, this weather is something, isn't it?" These are small, subtle adjustments, but they make a huge difference in how natural and socially appropriate you sound. Now, let's focus on using descriptive language to add color and life to your speech. Native speakers often give small, specific details to make their ideas more vivid and interesting for the listener. Instead of just saying, "I went to the park," you could bring the scene to life by saying, "I went to the park early this morning, just when the air was cool and fresh." Let's practice this skill. I'll give you a simple sentence and I want you to try to make it richer with more detail. I say, "I had lunch today." You could make it richer by saying, "I had a light lunch today at a small cafe near my office, just a simple sandwich and a cup of tea." I say, "I saw a movie last night." You could say, "I saw a really exciting action movie last night with my friends." Another area to focus on is mirroring and active listening. When native speakers have a conversation, they often subtly repeat key words or ideas from the other person's sentence to show that they are paying attention. For example, if person A says, "I went to the mountains last weekend," person B might reply, "Oh, the mountains. That sounds absolutely amazing." This is called mirroring, and it helps you sound much more engaged and connected in the conversation. Let's practice this. I say, "I just started a new hobby." You could respond, "A new hobby? That's interesting. What is it?" I say, "I've been learning to play the guitar." You could respond, "Guitar? That's so cool. How's it going so far?" Let's also practice those short, natural reactions that fit right in the middle of someone's story. These can be things like, "Wow, that's amazing." "Really?" "No way." "I know." "Exactly." "Right." I'll tell you a very short story, and I want you to react naturally at the right moment. Yesterday, I found $20 on the street. You might say, "Wow," or "No way." But then I realized it was mine. I had dropped it out of my pocket earlier. You might say, "Oh, I see," or "That's lucky." This shows how you can respond quickly and keep the conversational flow alive and interactive. Before we move forward, let's do a comprehensive shadowing exercise that combines many of the things we've just discussed: rhythm, intonation, linking, and those natural reaction words. Here's the paragraph. Well, I was just walking to the store when I suddenly ran into an old friend. We hadn't seen each other in years, so we decided to grab a coffee and catch up. Honestly, it felt like no time had passed at all. Now, your turn. Repeat it with me slowly first. Now, let's do it again, but at a more natural, friendly speed. Really feel the smooth connections between the words and the warm, friendly tone. Finally, for this section, let's add a mini fluency challenge. I want you to pick a specific moment from the last week of your life. It could be anything. And tell me about it as if you were telling it to a close friend. Don't think too much. Maybe use some small talk at the beginning to set the scene. Add descriptive details and keep your tone natural and relaxed. If you get stuck and can't find a word, just replace it with a simpler one and keep going. The goal is communication, not perfection. Another native sound in habit is adding emotion through short exclamations. Words like, wow, oh no, yay, huh, phew. These can add so much life and personality to your speech. They're small, but they make your English sound warmer and much more human. Let's practice saying them with real feeling. Wow, that's amazing. Oh no, I forgot my wallet. Phew, I made it just in time. Repeat them with real, genuine feeling. Next, we'll work on the skill of rephrasing for clarity. In real conversations, native speakers often repeat their point in a slightly different way to make absolutely sure they are being understood. For example, so just to be clear, you're saying we should meet at 10, right? Or, in other words, you think we should wait until next week. This is a great communication tool. Let's try it. I say, we need to leave early tomorrow. You could rephrase by saying, so we should be ready to go earlier than usual. I say, he doesn't like spicy food. You could rephrase by saying, in other words, he prefers mild dishes. This skill makes your communication much clearer and smoother. Now, let's do a combined fluency drill using everything we've covered so far. Linking, contractions, intonation, reaction words, and even some natural word pairings, which we call collocations. Here's the paragraph. Well, I came across this little bakery yesterday, and honestly, it had the best fresh bread I've ever tasted. I almost missed it because I was in a real rush, but I'm so glad I didn't. In the end, I even made a new friend while I was waiting in line there. Repeat it with me slowly first. Now, let's try it again with a natural, friendly, and enthusiastic tone. We should also talk about using story hooks to capture your listener's attention. In English, native speakers often start a story with something that makes people want to hear more. For example, you'll never guess what happened today. Yeah? Something really strange happened to me this morning. I just heard the funniest thing. These hooks make people curious and lean in to listen. Try saying each one with a playful or excited tone. Here's your hook practice challenge. I'll give you the start of a story hook, and you finish it with your own story idea. You won't believe who I saw at the grocery store yesterday. Something unexpected happened at work today that I just had the most amazing meal and I have to tell you about it. Practicing this will help you become a much more engaging and captivating storyteller. Finally, for this section, I want you to try timed speaking practice. I want you to set a timer on your phone for 1 minute. And for that 1 minute, I want you to talk about any small moment from your day. During that minute, your challenge is to use at least one phrasal verb, one collocation, and one natural reaction word. This will force you to combine multiple skills while keeping your speech flowing under a little bit of time pressure. Another advanced fluency skill that native speakers use without even thinking about it is changing their sentence structure for variety. If you always use the same simple structure, subject, verb, object, your speech can start to sound a little flat and repetitive. But by moving parts of the sentence around or using different grammatical patterns, you can add a wonderful rhythm and style to your speech. For example, instead of always saying, "I couldn't believe what I saw," you could change the structure for emphasis and say, "What I saw." I couldn't believe. Or instead of, "I was so tired after work," you could say, "After work, I was so tired I could barely move." Let's practice this. I'll give you a simple sentence and I want you to try to change the structure. I say, "I will never forget that day." You could say, "That day, I will never forget." I say, "She sings beautifully." You could say, "Beautifully, she sings every single morning." This skill helps your speech sound much more natural, expressive, and less like a textbook. Now, let's talk about using contrast for emphasis. Native speakers often highlight an idea by showing an opposite thought right before or after it. For example, "It was raining all morning, but the afternoon was sunny and warm." "I thought the movie would be boring, yet it was surprisingly good." Let's try saying these sentences with me, feeling the contrast. "I didn't think I'd enjoy the trip, but it turned out to be incredible." The task seemed easy at first, but it turned out to be quite tricky. Using contrasts makes your speech more interesting, dynamic, and thoughtful. Let's bring this idea of contrast into a daily life conversation example. Person A, "I heard that new restaurant is really expensive." Person B, "Yeah, it is a bit pricey, but the food is worth every single penny." Person A, "Really? I thought it would be too fancy for me." Person B, "Not at all. It's actually very welcoming and has a relaxed atmosphere." Repeat both roles, paying close attention to those contrast words, but actually, not at all. Another habit that gives you a native sound is playing with your sentence length. Native speakers naturally mix short, punchy sentences with longer, more descriptive, flowing ones. This variety keeps the listener's attention. For example, "The food was delicious. We stayed there for hours just talking and laughing, catching up on everything until the cafe finally closed for the night." The short sentence, "The food was delicious," creates impact. The longer sentence adds rich detail and context. Let's practice. Try a short, impactful sentence. "That's amazing." Now, try a long, flowing sentence. "It was one of those perfect moments you never forget, when everything feels just right and time seems to stop." Now, we'll work on using tag questions, another very common feature in native English speech. These are short little questions that we add to the end of a statement, usually to invite agreement or confirmation from the listener. For example, "It's a nice day, isn't it?" "You're coming to the party tonight, aren't you?" Let's try a few with me. "She's from Canada, isn't she? We should probably leave soon, shouldn't we?" Tag questions are a fantastic tool to make your speech sound more conversational, interactive, and friendly. Here's a mini tag question dialogue for you to practice. Person A, "You like coffee, don't you?" Person B, Yeah, I love it. You drink it every morning too, right? Person A, of course. I can't start my day without it. Now repeat both roles, making sure your voice rises just slightly at the end of the tag question to invite a response. Another important element is using emphasis words like so, really, absolutely, and totally for natural intensification. These words add emotional weight. For example, that movie was so good. No, I'm really happy for you. She's absolutely amazing at her job. Repeat these sentences after me, focusing on how these little words stretch and amplify the emotion. Now try making your own sentences using each one of them. We'll now practice a natural conversation blend. This is when you combine small talk, storytelling, and reaction words all together, smoothly. I'll do both parts first, so you can just listen to the flow. Person A, hey, how's it going? Person B, pretty good. I just finished a huge project at work. Phew. Person A, nice. Was it a big one? Person B, yeah, it took weeks, but I am so relieved it's finally done. Now, repeat both roles, keeping your tone friendly, relaxed, and completely natural. Let's also work on avoiding over-pronunciation. This is a common issue for diligent learners. You pronounce every single sound of every single word perfectly, which can actually sound unnatural in casual speech. Native speakers often reduce sounds. We've talked about gonna and wanna, but there are others. For example, did you often becomes dija. Let's try these. I'm gonna grab some lunch. Do you want to join? Dija see the game last night? Say them slowly first, and then naturally, letting the sounds blend together. Now here's a shadowing paragraph that is full of reductions and linking. I'm gonna head out a bit early today because I've got to run some errands. Want to come with me? We could grab a coffee on the way. Repeat it slowly. And then again at full conversational speed. Really feel how all the sounds connect and flow together. Finally, for this section, let's set a very practical speaking task. For the rest of today, and maybe for the rest of the week, I want you to actively notice and try to copy the rhythm and linking you hear in any English you listen to. Whether it's from a podcast, a movie, or a conversation you overhear, try to repeat a phrase or sentence in real time, even if it's just under your breath, even if you don't catch every single word. This active imitation will push you toward native-like fluency much faster than you think. One of the most powerful tools for sounding like a native speaker is using what I call storytelling layers. Instead of just stating the facts of what happened, native speakers often add layers of background information, their personal feelings, and little side comments. For example, a basic version of a story might be, I missed the bus this morning. Correct, but a bit boring. But a layered native-sounding version could be, so I missed the bus this morning, which, by the way, almost never happens. And I had to walk in the pouring rain to the next stop. Honestly, I was half laughing and half annoyed the whole time. Notice how this version feels so much more alive, personal, and interesting. Let's practice by taking a simple sentence and adding layers to it. The sentence is, I had lunch with a friend. A layered version could be, I had lunch with my friend Maya today. She's someone I hadn't seen in months, and we ended up talking so much that we almost forgot to eat our food. Another advanced fluency habit is using callbacks in a conversation. This means referring back to something that you or the other person mentioned earlier in the dialogue. Native speakers do this to create a sense of connection and to show they were listening carefully. It keeps the conversation feeling coherent and intertwined. For example, if earlier in the conversation your friend mentioned that they love Italian food, later on you might say, "By the way, speaking of Italian food, I found a new pasta place downtown that I think you'd love. Let's practice. I'll give you an earlier detail, and I want you to try to bring it back later in a natural way. The earlier detail is, my friend mentioned he started running again." Later in the conversation, you could say, "About that running you mentioned earlier. I think there's a beautiful park near my house you'd really enjoy. We should also work on spontaneous rephrasing. Sometimes even native speakers forget a word. It happens to all of us. But instead of stopping the conversation cold, they quickly find another way to say it. For example, I forgot the name of that tool you use to fix a bike? The thing that tightens the bolts. This keeps the conversation moving forward smoothly. Let's practice this. I'll give you a missing word situation, and you try to rephrase it. I say, "I need to buy a new, the thing you wear on your wrist to tell the time?" You would naturally say, "I need to buy a new watch." This skill is exactly how you stay fluent and confident, even when your memory fails you for a moment. Now, let's talk about using intensifiers and downtoners to adjust the strength of your message. Intensifiers like really, so, absolutely, and totally make your point stronger. Downtoners like kind of, a bit, slightly, and pretty soften your statement. Native speakers use these constantly to show precise degrees of meaning. Let's practice. An intensified statement, "I'm absolutely certain we'll win." A downtoned statement, "I'm pretty sure we'll win." Intensified, "The view from the top was totally breathtaking." Downtoned, "The view from the top was kinda nice." We can also build your intonation variety. If your voice stays at one flat pitch, you can sound less engaging even if your words are perfect. Native speakers move their pitch up and down constantly to show excitement, surprise, seriousness, or doubt. Let's just try with a single word. Say the word "really?" with surprise, like you just heard amazing news. Now, say "really" with doubt, like you don't believe what you're hearing. Now say "really" with excitement. That single word changes its meaning completely just based on your tone. Here's a shadowing exercise with emotional tone. The sentence is, "I can't believe you remembered my birthday. That's so sweet of you." Now try saying it with genuine excitement and gratitude. Now try saying the same words but sarcastically. And now say it with the tone of relief. This teaches you to have precise control over how your message is received by your listener. Another crucial skill is learning how to smoothly change topics. In casual English conversations, native speakers rarely jump abruptly to a new topic without some kind of link. They use transition phrases like, "Anyway, speaking of that reminds me. By the way, let's practice." I say, "I went shopping yesterday." You could transition by saying, "Speaking of shopping, have you seen the new store that opened downtown?" I say, "I watched a great documentary last night." You could transition by saying, "By the way, did you hear about that new film festival that's coming to town?" This keeps the conversation feeling natural and connected. Next, we'll do a 3-step fluency drill combining everything we've covered so far. Step 1, I tell a short story. Step 2, you repeat it with the same tone, linking, and pace. Step 3, you add 1 or 2 extra details to make it your own. Ready? My story. I met a friend for coffee yesterday and we talked for hours. It really felt like old times. Now, your version with extra details could be something like, I met my friend Alex for coffee yesterday at that little cafe near my office, and we talked for hours about everything. It really felt like old times. Finally, for this section, let's set an advanced speaking challenge. For the next 3 days, I want you to pick one real-life conversation each day. It could be with a colleague, a friend, or even a shop assistant. And in that conversation, I want you to consciously try to use at least one phrasal verb, one natural reaction, and one intensifier or downtoner. This intentional, focused practice will make these habits become automatic over time. Another key to sounding like a native speaker is using anticipation in your speech. This means setting up your listener for what's coming, which native speakers often do to build interest. For example, you might say, "You're not going to believe what happened to me today." Or, "I have something really exciting to tell you." This builds curiosity and keeps your listener engaged and eager to hear more. Let's practice this. I say, "You'll never guess who I saw yesterday." You could respond with a curious tone. "Who?" Now try saying this one. "I've been keeping a little secret, but I think it's time to share it." Native speakers also sometimes use story interruptions to make their conversations sound more real and authentic. For example, "So I was walking to the store. Oh wait, did I tell you about the new manager at the store? Anyway, as I was saying, I was walking there when..." This little interruption shows a natural thought flow and can make your story sound less rehearsed. Let's try it. Take a basic story. Add one small, relevant interruption, and then smoothly return to your main point. We should also work on expressing uncertainty in a natural way. Instead of just saying, "I don't know," every single time, native speakers vary their expressions. They might say, "I'm not so sure. It's hard to say, really. I can't say for certain. I would have to check on that." Try saying these phrases with me. Now, try to put them into your own sentences. "I'm not sure if the meeting is at 2 or 3 o'clock. It's hard to say whether the weather will clear up later." Now, let's practice responding in supportive ways. In English conversations, native speakers often encourage others while they are talking with short supportive sounds or words. Things like, "Right. Yeah, exactly. I see what you mean." Try keeping a soft, encouraging tone when you use these. It lets the speaker know you are listening and makes them feel comfortable continuing. We'll also look at making gentle corrections in a conversation. If a friend says something that is slightly grammatically incorrect, native speakers often correct it without breaking the flow or making the person feel embarrassed. For example, if your friend says, "I go to there every weekend," you might gently correct it by rephrasing it as a question or statement. "Oh, you go there every weekend? That's nice." This repeats the sentence correctly without directly pointing out the mistake. Practice by taking a slightly incorrect sentence and rephrasing it into the correct form in a friendly, natural tone. Another advanced skill is balancing your personal stories with questions for the other person. Native speakers rarely speak for a long time without inviting the other person to share as well. For example, "I had the best weekend. We went hiking up in the mountains. The views were incredible. Have you ever been hiking around here before? Let's try that." You tell a short personal story and then immediately follow it with a related question to the other person. This balance makes conversations feel much more natural and two-sided. Here's a final, longer shadowing story that combines linking, emotion, rhythm, and natural connectors. Well, yesterday started off pretty normal, you know. I had my coffee, checked my emails, and then I went for a quick walk. But then, completely out of nowhere, I bumped into an old school friend I hadn't seen in at least 10 years. We ended up talking for over an hour, just catching up on everything, and honestly, it felt like no time had passed at all. Now repeat it slowly with me, and then let's do it one more time at a natural, flowing, conversational pace. Now picture yourself asking for directions in a new city. You stop someone on the street and say, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the museum?" Repeat, "Excuse me, could you tell me how to get to the museum?" They reply, "Sure. Go straight ahead for 2 blocks, then turn left." You answer, "Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help." Again, "Thank you very much. I really appreciate your help." Next, imagine you're in a taxi. The driver says, "Where would you like to go?" You reply, "Please take me to Central Station." Repeat, "Please take me to Central Station." The driver asks, "Do you want the fastest route or the cheapest?" You say, "The fastest route, please." Repeat, "The fastest route, please." Now, let's practice at the doctor's office. You say, "Good morning. I have an appointment with Dr. Evans at 10 a.m. Repeat, "Good morning. I have an appointment with Dr. Evans at 10 a.m. The receptionist says, "Yes, please take a seat and the doctor will call you shortly." You respond, "Thank you very much." Again, "Thank you very much." When you meet the doctor, they ask, "What seems to be the problem?" You reply, "I've been having these headaches for the past 3 days." Repeat, "I've been having these headaches for the past 3 days. They ask, "Have you taken any medicine for them?" You answer, "Just some painkillers, but they haven't helped much." Repeat, "Just some painkillers, but they haven't helped much." Now imagine you're at a job interview. The interviewer says, "Tell me a little about yourself." You reply, "I'm a motivated and hardworking person, and I'm very passionate about helping people learn new skills." Repeat, "I'm a motivated and hardworking person, and I'm very passionate about helping people learn new skills." They ask, "Why do you want to work here?" You answer, "Because I truly admire your company's mission, and I believe my skills and experience match the role perfectly." Repeat, "Because I truly admire your company's mission, and I believe my skills and experience match the role perfectly." Finally, let's practice a friendly goodbye. You're leaving a friend's house and you say, "Thank you so much for having me. I had a wonderful time." Repeat, "Thank you so much for having me. I had a wonderful time." They reply, "I'm so glad you could come." "Let's do this again soon." You answer, "Absolutely. See you soon." Repeat, "Absolutely. See you soon." Finally, let's close with a realistic speaking challenge that will help you maintain and grow your skills long after today's lesson is over. Every single day this week, I want you to take just 10 minutes to do one of these 3 things. 1. Describe your day so far out loud in as much detail as possible. 2. Retell a story you recently heard from a friend or on a podcast, but add your own expressions and emotions to it. Or 3. Shadow a short piece of natural English audio like a clip from a movie or a YouTube video, matching the speaker's tone, speed, and linking as closely as you possibly can. If you make this a daily habit, you will notice your English becoming smoother, faster, and far more natural. And then one day, you'll realize you're speaking without even thinking about the grammar or searching for the right words. That is the moment you know you're not just speaking English anymore. You're living it. Thank you so much for spending this time with me today. If you found this lesson helpful and you want to keep improving your English every single day, please make sure you subscribe to the channel and hit the bell icon so you never miss a new lesson. I absolutely love sharing these masterclasses with you, and I can't wait to see you in the next one. Until then, keep practicing, keep speaking, and most importantly, keep believing in yourself, because you really, truly can sound like a native English speaker.